Okay, so I want to tell a couple stories about the tailbone to emphasize the point that we need to have a tailbone when we sit and to be able to sense it and move it. I was giving a workshop with some professionals in the room. There's a dentist and an osteopath and a chiropractor. And the dentist had low back pain for some, I believe he said some years, chronic low back pain off and on, and he was getting weekly osteopathic treatments for the back pain. And so I said, when you sit, if you suspend the tailbone and you listen to what the tailbone wants to do, it will tell you how to protect the low back. It may say, move the sitting bones back, or walk the left sitting bone to the side, or shift your weight a little bit like this, something. And he did it. Later on, he told me, my back pain went away, like magic, just listening to the tailbone. Another story, I was in India teaching a workshop about all this, and there was a friend who I knew who wasn't in the workshop, but I told him about the tailbone, what I've told you. And he tried sitting like I had told him, when you sit cross-legged, to put a cushion under each sitting bone. So the tailbone hangs in the middle. So you can also sit like this between two chairs. If you're in an auditorium and there's two chairs like this, to sit with one sitting bone here, one sitting bone there, the tailbone hangs is a good idea. So I told him that. And he came back to me a week later and said, I've had headaches. I couldn't meditate more than a half an hour. And now that I'm doing this, suspending the tailbone, I can meditate 6 hours. He was very grateful because the tailbone, when you have pressure on the tailbone, constant pressure, puts pressure on the cerebral spinal fluid, makes the brain a little uncomfortable and pressurized, gives you like headaches, and you feel restless, like, I don't want to do this. I'm just tired. Give me a break. You feel like that. When the whole problem is the tailbone. Maybe the most important thing about sitting is understand you have a tailbone, you have to protect it and feel it and be able to move it around. Like a little kid who would squirm in a chair like this, shift their weight. Teachers tell kids not to do this, but you shouldn't really, because they're feeling their pelvis in a functional way with weight bearing to find out what's most comfortable. Anyway, moving on to chair sitting skill. So when you're sitting in a chair, if the knees are together, it makes the top of the pelvis go back. It makes you slump. So knees together is the same as slumping. Now, if you do this with the knees and then you sit up straight, it's putting stress on the low back and the hips. And I think you're wearing out the hips like this. So this is particularly for women. See, when the knees are apart, shoulder width or more, the pelvis can roll forward, give you a lumbar support, and you can walk the sitting bones behind, and you can sit without any tension in the back. When I sit like this, I sometimes have a client come to me and feel my back, and it's soft. It's pretty soft, like putty. So when they sit, my client, it'll be stiff and hard like rock. So I'm just saying, these ideas can be felt. All you have to do is put your hand on your own back, ask yourself, how soft is it? Right along the spine, what do I feel? This is your index. If it's hard, you know you have to learn more skills about chair sitting. So to sit functionally, walk the sitting bones behind. You need to have a chair the right height, hard surface, the knees apart, shoulders over the hips. You need to do the work to correct the head forward posture, like we've talked about. You need to have a little bit of vigilance when you sit, not to bring the head forward. So I'm not saying push the chin back. I'm saying when you sit, just think of a feather brushing up against the chin, so it helps you remember, don't do this as you sit. Or you can take something and put it on your head, something soft, and like old-fashioned charm school, walk around with a book. If you sit like this, it's a reminder, keep the shoulders stacked over the hips, don't lift the chin too much. Keep that nice, erect, easy posture if you slump. So it's a good little training tool. So those are the basic points. Now there's one skill that I'd like to show you about sitting that it sounds very easy, but it's not. And the skill is this. Go into a slump, put the hands like this, and put the chin to the chest. So you actually go into a nice slump. Keep the shoulders over the hips. And like this, without stiffening the back, roll the pelvis forward and back. What everybody does, is as soon as they roll the pelvis forward, the top of the pelvis forward, the back stiffens. It's because too many years, millions of times probably, in a chair, they're sitting, and they stiffen. They push the lower ribs forward, they roll the pelvis forward, and they stiffen the back. So the pelvis going forward means stiff back. Pelvis forward, stiff back. You do that for hundreds of thousands of times, many people in a lifetime. I still do it. When I feel a little stress, I'll arch the low back and I'll tighten the pelvis, rolling it forward. This is like uncomfortable for me. So I have to, when I'm aware of it, I say, soften the low ribs, move the pelvis independently of stiffening the ribs. Move. So you can think of this like belly dancing in a chair. Have the pelvis dynamic, mobile, independent. In the Feldenkrais work, we have a movement lesson. It's called the pelvic clock. You take an imaginary clock, bring it down under the pelvis. You turn the pelvis to 3 o'clock, to 9 o'clock, to 12, to 6. You make circles with the pelvis. It takes time to develop independent movement of the pelvis. But without it, it's very difficult to have good sitting posture, because sitting posture otherwise is going to be stiff. The quick summary for chair sitting, the things that you should burn in your memory whenever you sit in a chair until they're automatic. Knees apart, chair the right height, walk the sitting bones behind, the shoulders over the hips. Don't protrude the low ribs forward. Don't stiffen to sit up straight. At any cost, don't stiffen. It's better to sit in a backrest or slump like this than to stiffen. And I have to say this in all humility, because I did it for myself 30 years. But to sit up stiff and straight, trying to meditate like I did, I now recognize that was the same idea of clenching the fist. And then I tell myself, to find God, I must clench my fist and never let go. Vigilantly sit up straight. And then I say, and I have to relax. But clench the fist, don't give up, and relax. That's kind of crazy making. And so I finally realized this was insane, this thing of sit up stiff. This is insane unless you understand how to do it without tension. Walk the sitting bones behind, the knees apart, global awareness. Sense the breathing in front, the sides, and the back. The feet firmly planted under you, not too far in front, not too far in back. The knees apart, the pelvis rolled forward. Then you can sit in meditation posture, stacked, relaxed, with no effort. The material presented here is for information only. It summarizes the main tools that I have personally used for about 25 years as a Feldenkrais teacher. I've worked with many clients with serious medical issues and other people, and I found these ideas are safe and simple, they're effective, but common sense dictates that you need your doctor's permission. If you have any questions, if there's any pain, you shouldn't do a movement, you should always be gentle, go slowly. If you have any doubt about the safety of a movement, respect that and don't do it. You can see a professional teacher of movement, an Alexander or Feldenkrais teacher. These people are very good. They've studied posture for a lifetime. You can trust them, and they can look at you, and in a glance, they can tell you what is going on in your body and what you need to do particularly to help yourself. And this can save you many years of futile effort and struggling, doing everything or trying to accomplish something you don't really need to accomplish in the way of posture. When you have a professional, experienced person looking at you and you follow their advice, it can save you lots of effort and time.